Happy evening to another present here. Welcome to the second day of 3-day workshop on bank audit series. Today we have with us CA Jayachandran sir, who will take us through stock audit. May now request the people who are seated on the back to come and occupy the front rows, please. Since it's a very limited audience, sir want to make it an interactive session. We will start today's proceedings with the invocation of ICA Motto song. Let us all rise for ICA Motto.
यशस्सुप्तेषु जाग्रति यशस्सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः सर्वे तदूनात्यभिकश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Thank you. Please be seated. It's my privilege to introduce today's speaker, CA Jayachandran sir. CA Jayachandran, a qualified chartered accountant in the year 1986. He has been practiced since then and is the senior partner of Jayachandran and Company, firm of chartered accountants having its head office in Chennai and branch office in Bengaluru, headed by FCA Manjupriya Sanjeevi. As a concurrent auditor, he had the opportunity of handling very large branches of public sector banks, which were mainly industrial finance branches, overseas branches catering exclusively to exporters, and was also the concurrent auditor for a stressed asset management branch in a public sector bank, which had a portfolio of more than 40,000 crores in the stretched assets. He is a life member in the Indian Council of Arbitration and is keen to become a mediator. As a service to society, he has been organizing blood donation camps since 2005 and has organized more than 35 camps till date. Yeah, big round of applause for that, sir, for your social cause. Corporates such as Bajaj, Cognizant, JK Tyres, Virtusa have been supporting him in this endeavor. He has passed his final exam held by ICA in the year 1985 and become a member of ICA in January 1986. He has become a fellow member of our institute in the year 1991. He is also a commerce graduate from University of Madras. He completed his schooling from Kendriya Vidyalaya, Visakhapatnam. He also done certain certificate courses of ICA, anti-money laundering, alternate dispute resolution, concurrent audit of banks, and forensic audit and prevention of fraud. With this brief, I have a great pleasure in welcoming CA Jayachandran sir to handle today's session on stock audit. Before I hand over the podium, may I now request the CA Tilagavati Vedagiri to come forward and present a shawl, memento and health bouquet to Jayachandran sir as a token of SIRC's love and affection. Thank you, Tilagavati madam. Over to Jayachandran sir to take us through stock audit.
So one of the perspectives that we have here is like, you could be asked to do a stock audit by a bank, or you could be a concurrent auditor, or an ASM auditor, or as a forensic auditor. When you are asked to do a stock and receivable audit, then there you are going to actually conduct the stock audit. In most of the other cases where you are a branch statutory auditor, where in the upcoming statutory audits which are going to come up, or as a concurrent auditor of a bank, or as a forensic auditor, or as an ASM auditor, you will be depending upon the stock audit report that has been given by other professionals. So this is the brief perspective of the stock audit. You are most welcome to interrupt at any time. So in a banking environment, what happens is there will be a sanctioning process, and then we'll discuss about the objectives of this stock audit. and also what is the stock audit cycle, how it takes place, what is the frequency, and all that. So typically what happens is in a bank, when they sanction the credit facility, it is based on the application made by the borrower, and the borrower will submit his report, he will submit. If it's an existing borrower, it will be a review or a renewal of the existing limits, in which case he will give all his projections for the next 3, 4, 5 years, and based on which the limits will be decided. That is typically what happens. But if it's a first-time borrower, then they will go by the project report, etc., and then the sanctioning of the limits is done. Typically what happens is 75% of the working capital limits is what is being sanctioned with the bank, and the rest will be the equity that the promoter or the borrower has to bring in. And the primary security in all this, in this cash credit facility, of which we call CC, is basically the stock. And there could be, additional property which is given as collateral, to see that the risk of the bank is minimized. So how does the bank sanction? Like typically a bank will sanction on the basis of a application made by the borrower. And in this case, sometimes what happens is the bank, depending upon the quantum of sanction or that is required by the borrower, they will either directly sanction it to the borrower or they might go for a consortium. In a consortium, what happens is there will be a lead bank and there are other banks which will be following the lead bank's initiatives. There could also be a multiple banking arrangement wherein what happens is the borrower will decide he will go with several banks, and each bank will have their own sanction, each bank will have their own terms and conditions, and each bank will have their own compliances. In a lead bank, when there's a consortium loan and if there's a lead banker which is the thing, if the lead banker says that okay, this account is NPA, then all other banks will have to follow. In a multiple banking arrangement, they might not. So it's left to the individual banker to decide. This validity of the sanction is another important thing when you look at the sanction letter. So typically it will be for a period of 1 year and it will be renewable at the end of the 1 year. In that period, the borrower is asked to submit stock statements, and typically it will be certified by another chartered accountant. And here what happens is the bank statements or the stock statement will be submitted to the bank. It will be certified by a chartered accountant. But it would be interesting to see whether it is the statutory auditor who is signing that stock statement or it is some other chartered accountant who is signing the stock statement. And the basic reason is, okay, the bank would like to know what is the value of the stock that is being, hypothecated or pledged to the bank. And this is where, when you come in, this is the role of a stock auditor. Because the bank, what happens is the bank will not have the time to assess the value of the stock, and then that is when they appoint the stock auditor, and he is the one who will, go there, conduct the stock audit and all that. We'll come to that in the next few slides. In case anytime you want me to stop, you can stop, you can interact, right? Thank you. So in the cash credit facility, which is what this stock audit is all about, there are two kinds of cash credits which is given. One is cash credit pledge, and the other one is cash credit hypothecation. In the case of a pledge, what happens is the possession of the goods is with the bank, and the physical control is also with the bank, which means if the borrower wants to take out some material from the warehouse, he has to inform the bank, banker will come, he'll open the lock, then you can withdraw you can take out your material, or if you want to, if there are some purchases, there's inwards, you can deposit this. This is what happens in a case of a pledge. But this kind of facility is generally not so common. It's very, very rare. What usually is more common is hypothecation. In the case of a hypothecation, what happens is the possession of the goods is with the borrower. It's only a floating charge which is created over the inventories in favor of the bank. And the banker and the borrower is the one who has the control over the physical stock, not the banker. So whenever he wants, he will, if material comes in, he will open the warehouse, he will deposit that material, and if he wants to withdraw something for his production process or this thing, he can take out the material. I think this PPT will be circulated to everybody later on. So whoever has registered, I think it should be mailed to you. The other thing is, the drawing from this account is permitted on the basis of the stock statement submitted by the bank. The stock statement which is submitted by the bank will determine what is the drawing power. We'll come to that drawing power a little later. But this is how the the second part of it. In the case of a hypothecation, a limit is fixed, and then based on the limit that has been fixed, he can either deposit all his sales proceeds or he can make payments to his sundry creditors on the basis of the limit which is available. So what is the objective of this stock audit? So when the bank gives you a stock audit, what is the basic purpose? So the basic purpose of the bank stock audit is ownership, whom does the material belong to, and existence, does the material exist at all, and obsolescence. Is the material which is pledged to the bank, is it obsolete or is it current, etc. This is basically the three main objectives. And the other thing is whether the value of the goods that is pledged to the bank, it covers the risks. So as I said, the whole exercise of the bank audit, bank stock audit, is basically to understand whether the value which is there any obsolete stock, and whether it's adequately insured or not. And sometimes what happens in the stock audit when you're doing it, there may not be a single location, there might be several locations. In a manufacturing unit, there could be some in the stockyard, there could be some inside the factory, there could be some inside. And sometimes what happens is there will be across several locations in India. There are times when we have done stock audit for more than about 20 locations simultaneously. So any audit requires planning. So also the stock audit, it also requires certain planning. So you will what will happen is that you will be gathering information both from the borrower and the banker. So one of the key things is understanding the entity. Once you understand the entity, then you can conduct the audit. You also have a lot of substantiative procedures like the physical inventory, how it is done, the valuation of the inventory, and the valuation of current assets and liabilities, and the drawing power calculations. So this is all substantive procedures which we come to. So how do you collect the data? So when you visit the borrower's banker, and then you gather the following information. You gather what the sanction letter, and then the last stock statement that has been submitted by the borrower, and it will definitely be certified by a CA. If it is not certified, you'll have to keep in mind why it has not been certified. Then you better take the bank statement for the last 3 months, how he is operating that bank statement, what payments are being made to the to the purchasers or the sundry creditors, and what is the realizations that is happening from sales. So if it will give you an idea, okay, how much the stock is being sold, how much of it is being recovered, how the payments are being made, and they will have several accounts. So a typical borrower, he might have a cash credit account, he might have a bank guarantee account, he might have an LC account, all these. So you need to go through all the LC, all the accounts, all the facilities which he has got with the bank. And typically the bank, when it sanctions, you will have two kinds. One is fund based and one is non-fund based. So the non-fund based will be like your LCs, your bank guarantees, etc. Fund based will be cash credit and term loans. So this is what the sanction letter will contain. How much, to what extent is the fund based limits that have been allocated, what extent has been non-fund based limits that have been allocated. So once you sit down with the banker and you discuss that, you also need to have a pre-inspection note. So you discuss with the banker everything, how we are going to conduct the audit, where are the locations, etc. Jot down the whole thing, and better to take a sign off from the banker. Okay, this is what we are going to do, these are the locations. So this is called a pre-inspection discussion note. It will be very helpful and it will be part of your audit evidence. So tomorrow, you will be, both of you will be on the same page. Both of you, the stock auditor as well as the banker, you will be on the same page as to, okay, what is it that we are doing, why is it we are here, and which are the locations you are going to cover. All that will be discussed in this, and there will be a sign off. So the next part is when you are collecting data from the borrower's office. So here you will, collect the stock statement, what would be the stock that is lying in each of the locations, and where are all the operations that is happening, how many locations are there in India, and what is the extent of stock. All that will be looked at, and what is the as on date of the audit. And typically what happens is when you are being assigned the stock audit, they will tell you, okay, we are assigning the stock audit now, and you will have to conduct the audit, and it will be on a particular date. So you will take, say for example, 31st March you take, and you will be given your assignment sometime in the first week of April, and then you will discuss, and all this planning, etc. will take place. So when you go to the borrower, after this appointment is given as a stock auditor, these are all the information that you collect from the borrower. I've already mentioned what you are going to collect from the banker. So here audited financial statements, then a trial balance, provisional balance sheet as on the date of verification, and insurance policy. Insurance policy is very, very critical. We'll come to that. And then the purchases and sales for the audit period. And you can even look at the purchases invoice, what are the sales invoices and other supporting documents which are there for verifying the internal controls. So when material comes in, for example, how does the material come in? Is there a security? Does the security stamp it? Is there an inward register? All these things are what are the internal controls which is given, which any borrower will have. Right? So you need to go through that entire gamut of all that. So subsequently what happens is when you speak to the borrower, you will also understand how is he collating the stocks. How does he arrive at the stock at each location? How does he value that stock? How does he put it into it? And then how does he submit to the bank? So this is quite critical, like, then whether he's identifying what is non-moving, what is obsolete, and whether the stock is being held for more than 6 months, etc. And this obsolescence of stock, it differs from industry to industry. So we'll come to that in the last when I come to what are all the industries where in this, obsolescence matters. For example, obsolescence in a manufacturing company is different from a jewelry company. So this is in a jewelry company, there's no obsolescence. If a material is made, it could be there, it could be remaining in stock for 6 months also. You can't consider it obsolete. We don't know when the trend will change, we don't know when it will get sold. So this is one thing that we need to remember. So understanding of the borrower's activities, then what are the internal audit reports that he has, how does he, as I said, gather all the stock information, and once you visit the entity, the borrower, and you see the plant facilities, as I was saying, when the material is coming in, whether the security there, the security sign off, all these things you will come to know only when you visit the entity. And how these transactions are traced through the information system, whether what kind of books of accounts they are maintaining, are they maintaining SAP, are they maintaining Tally, and how is this, how does this information of inward of material and sale of finished goods and WIP, how does it find its place into the books of accounts? So this is quite important for, before you start the audit. And there are various types of inventories, in the business, and the method of valuation for the same, as I was telling you, and details of non-moving stock and obsolete stock, and stock which is held for more than 6 months. So before conducting the stock audit, you will understand, okay, how much sampling are you going to do, what extent of coverage are you going to give, how many areas will you cover, and by doing that process, how much of the stock are you going to actually have covered in terms of the stock audit. So you will have, some amount of sampling will be there, and you will be looking at all the purchase invoice and the sales invoice to verify. And there are two ways of doing this. One is a top-down approach, wherein you go to the borrower and you take all the documents, and then you see what has moved, what is consumed, and then see if what is not consumed is there in the shop floor, in the warehouse. A bottom-up approach would be, okay, see the stock, trace it back into the purchases, trace it back into the purchase bills, and whether it was paid or not paid. Then we know that, okay, the stock which is there is lying in the warehouse, it actually belongs to the borrower, and it has been paid for. And when you hold a stock audit, it's very critical that you update all the members of your stock audit team. The stock audit team should be on the same page as you are. They should also have the same understanding of the entity what you have. You should also have the same understanding, okay, these are the registers that are being maintained, this is what you will expect. Let's say, for example, there are 5 locations and you have 5 different teams going to each of them. All the teams should understand, okay, what is it that you're going to expect. If somebody is going to the warehouse, they'll say, okay, all raw materials will be placed there, there'll be very less finished goods. If somebody is going to the finished goods stores, then they will be having only looking at the finished goods. So the team which is going there should be, communicated completely in full as to what they're going to find. There should not be any surprises. And communication should be back and forward between the team leader and the rest of the team members. Then we come to the physical verification of the inventory. Anything am I going this thing, any doubts you have, you can always throw up. So the physical verification covers all aspects that have a direct impact on the working capital of the unit. So, yeah,
Debtors and creditors confirmation.
yeah,
Apply some direct confirmation procedure also.
yeah, we'll come to that.
Sample, that also will be based on samples or?
Yeah, so for example, let's say, you have some creditors are there, and when you're taking when you see the bills which has not been paid for example, and if that stock is lying in the warehouse, then those are all unpaid stocks. So it will not form part of the paid stocks, in which case his drawing power will come down. So when you're taking stocks,
The volume of liabilities?
yes,
Matching
yes,
the invoices plus.
yes,
Plus outstanding.
yeah.
Matching should.
Matching should be there, and it's quite peculiar. For example, if you take the audit of let's say, a Toyota showroom, right? So it's a trading entity. They will have lot of different cars that are parked there. It will be there for display. It will also be there for sale. Sometimes what happens, you will go there, you will buy the car, and then you will say, no, today is not a good day. I will take delivery on Friday. Friday is a good day. So what happens is that stock will be there at the yard. It is actually sold. So it will fall in the category of billed but not delivered. So when you go there, you should be very careful about what is it that you're doing. Understand the activity of that entity which you are going to do a stock audit. So when you take manufacturing, as I was saying, creditors and whether the stock has been paid or unpaid. In a trading environment, it's totally different. How do you establish the ownership of that stock? So that is the critical aspect. So understanding the entity and understanding what is the activities of that entity and also communicating the same to your team is very, very critical.
We need to go through the sanction ticket first.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's valid or still.
Yeah. And sometimes what happens, the sanction ticket will come in the last month, the 31st March, the renewal will take place, and then and sometimes the compliance will not be there. So, yeah. So it's very, very critical to see what is the terms and conditions, what is the clauses which are there for sanction, and sometimes what happens is, like, if the sanction terms are not complied with, penalties will have to be levied. So this will be very critical for you when you're doing your branch statutory audit. So if there's any in a branch statutory audit, what happens is you will have to see whether stock audit has been submitted. All that you'll have to see, and when was the last date of stock statement that has been submitted. And can anybody tell me what is the validity of a stock statement that has been submitted? So let's say a stock statement had been submitted to the branch. So how long is that valid?
30 days till the submission of the next step.
Now that is one of the terms and conditions, but if suppose he doesn't submit, then what happens? Can you depend upon the previous stock statement which has been submitted? Let's say you have submitted one on 31st December and your appointment has come in and you are going there after 31st March. So will that will that still be valid? Will that drawing power still be valid?
It would not be actually. According to the sanction ticket, whether he is supposed to submit every month or once in 3 months, we need to see. But most of the cases, every month they are supposed to submit.
Yeah, they are supposed to submit every month, but if they don't submit, what do you do? How do you go by?
Cancellation should be.
No, it is
Last
not available.
submitted
We inform the manager in advance. Can
Yeah.
you submit the stock
Yeah.
statement or not? Then they will obtain it.
Why I am asking is very critical when you are doing a branch statutory audit.
Yeah.
So, you have a stock statement which is submitted and which is 31st December, 31st March, your branch audits have been allocated, and then you go there and you start asking for this, all private limited companies which have borrowed cash credit, etc. And you find that one of them has not submitted the stock statement. The last stock statement that has been submitted was on 31st December. So what do you do? Is that account NPA?
Penalty should be levied by the.
Penalty, okay, but you are a branch statutory auditor, so you are going to declare whether the account is NPA or not NPA. So that's the critical part. So typically, 90 days validity is there. Just like how we say in IRAC norms and what is, how we determine whether the account is NPA or not, and how the interest remains unpaid or the term loan remains unpaid. So this is one of the things you've got to be very this thing. And if there's and you have to go with the sanction letter and the periodicity of submitting of the stock statement. If they don't submit in that period, then you have to look at it very critically.
most of the time when we go for stock audit, they collect the previous 2 months during that time only. They take
Yes,
everything
yes.
ready.
See, the stock audit, the stock statement, especially in your branch statutory audit when you go there, no, they will submit the stock statement. If you see the sanction letter will say that the stock audit, the stock statement should be submitted by the 10th of the following month. So 31st March, let us say, 10th April it should be submitted. And 10th April, when you are going there for audit, it may not have been submitted. So if it is not submitted, then you can levy penalty, you can levy this thing, and then you can, all that will come into picture. So as a branch statutory auditor, you can look at it, especially private limited companies who have borrowed. For them, it's very critical that, you know, this thing is looked at.
Even stock auditor, they want us to ensure that whether penalty is levied if the statement is not submitted on time.
Yeah.
That also they are asking us.
Yeah, that also they are asking. Yes, yes, very true.
And second thing is in the plant they want us to ensure whether the bank name is mentioned. This
Yes.
stock is
Yes.
certificated
Yes.
to this particular
The
bank.
display of the board, they will always see whether this, whether this, as I said, as you said, hypothecation of this thing, which is the bank from. And sometimes the borrower will protest. Do you want me to put the name board here? I borrowed from so and so bank. That is what they say. So nowadays, what they do, they don't say that it is, this is stock under pledge. They say our bankers are so and so.
Exactly.
So it's very subtle. Like earlier on, we used to insist upon, okay, this bank, stocks in this account are pledged to such and such bank, etc. We will insist that that board is there. But then there was some lot of resistance from the borrowers, and then the borrowers have started putting. So there are, but yes, it is, it is better to see if there is a statement which says, or a board which says, yes, that the stock in this particular godown is pledged to such and such bank. So that would be good. And typically, there will also when you are going for this branch audit, what happens is the inspectors or the bank should go for a regular inspection of the facility. So that is one thing that the sanction letter will say. So that is another thing. If the bankers have not gone for an inspection, then that's a penalty. Right? Again, so those are all things that you can bring out in your branch statutory audit, which is very, very valid.
Will it become 90 days once?
No, 90 days concept, yeah, he has to submit. Now, what is the validity of the statement? Like, if he is giving 31st December, if he has given the stock statement, and you are going there on audit for something like, let's say in the first week of April, how do you say that the same drawing power is valid? Let's say you submitted the stock statement on 31st December, and then let's say that the drawing power is something like 25 lakhs or something like that. But how do you know that the same drawing power is valid as on 31st March? These are all very critical and nuances. So when in the stock audit, in a branch statutory audit to go, they'll be always pushing you to sign the papers. That's one thing. So the time constraint is always there in these branch audits.
And receivables audit also is combined. Nowadays they give stock and receivables audit.
Yes.
They want us to ensure the audited receivables statement once in 3 months.
Yes.
Most of the time it is not available. The auditor of the particular borrower should confirm the receivables.
Yes.
3 months with receivables.
Yes. Very true. And sometimes what happens is the auditor who is confirming this, the certified stock statement, the stock statement which is certified by the auditor, is never the statutory auditor. If you see the previous audited financials which have been submitted by the borrower, and then you see who is the chartered accountant who is certifying that, you will see that there is a gap. It may not have been certified by the statutory auditors.
Okay, borrower's auditor.
Correct. Borrower statutory auditor. It will be some chartered accountant will sign that and then this thing. So that's also critical. Does the statutory auditor know that this particular statement has been given? Is he considering this when he is doing his books of accounts?
They want us to mention avail the UDIN also for stock audit report.
Yes.
Nowadays, a banker wants us to mention the UDIN. So for every report that we go as a stock auditor,
Yes.
we have to provide it.
Yeah, you have to provide. You have to provide. I'll come to that once again. That UDIN is also very, very critical. But as I was saying, before you start this stock audit, you will have a pre-inspection discussion note. There is also a post-inspection discussion note. So that happens when your entire audit has been completed and you are about to give the report. At that time, there will be a post-audit discussion note. That is when this UDIN comes into picture, because as you know, the validity of the UDIN is just 48 hours. 48 hours. So you can't, once you release it, there's nothing that you can do about it. So as far as the stock is concerned and the value of the stock is concerned, it's very critical because it also determines what is your income, and it also has an effect on the financial position of the company. So this is what as a branch statutory auditor, when you go, this is how it plays an important role, assessing what is the stock, etc. There, you are not conducting the stock audit. You have to depend upon the report that has been given by somebody else, or it has been certified by somebody else. And any error in this inventory valuation, I don't have to say, cost of goods, how the cost of goods have been arrived at, what is the gross profit, all these things will get affected if the valuation of the inventory is not properly done. And we have standards. IS 2 is there for inventory valuation, where the inventory was valued accordingly in that manner, and what are the standards which the borrower is adopting, etc. See, the bankers may not know that. Bankers may not be as conversant with the standards which has been given by the institute as that has been given, as you as a chartered accountant or as a professional when you go there. And typically this is how the valuation of an inventory is done. I'm sure all of you know what is the net realizable value, what is the historical cost, and how this whole thing is done, which would be a better option, whether it's a first in first out method, or whether it's a last in first out method, or weighted average method. Again, all this depends upon the industry in which this borrower is operating. Is it a trading industry? Is it a manufacturing industry, etc.? If you take, for example, a jewelry concern, then this may not apply at all. Like the value of gold will be changing, on a day-to-day basis. So then, what is the advantages or disadvantages of the various kinds of valuation, FIFO valuation? It's a very simple and easy method. Closing stocks are nearer to the market value, and then what is the disadvantage? Similarly, weighted average cost, what is the advantage and what is the disadvantage? Here what happens in weighted average cost, the inventory is valued at one rate regardless of when you purchased it, or when the last purchase and the first purchase. There will be a lot of calculating the value, and so there will be a lot of cumbersome. It's very, very tedious to do this. So basically why I am saying all this is like, how was the inventory valued? What is the drawing? The drawing power will be based on the valuation of the inventory. So that is what is very critical when you are going there as a branch statutory auditor, or you are going as agency for specialized monitoring also is there. That's also very critical. If you're being given an assignment for agency as an ASM auditor, that's very huge. Yeah.
Can you not take the actual value as per the imported goods, or when you buy goods, there's a bill? You take actuals.
Yeah.
You don't need to use any of these FIFO winter ordering.
Yeah.
Take the material, whether this material has come from that particular consignment.
Yeah.
Take that value.
Yeah. So
You don't use any of them.
That's what we do in FIFO, sir.
No. What happens is, when you're going for the stock audit, right, you're having a discussion with the borrower, and the borrower will tell you, this was my inventory as on 31st March. Okay? He has got this, he has given you the value. Then you will have to see, how did he arrive at that value? Was it LIFO? Was it FIFO? Was it weighted average? That's what I'm trying to say. We are not discussing which would be a better system to use. What we are trying to discuss is,
This fellow is importing goods
okay,
from overseas.
Okay.
And the stock is there.
Yes.
The bank has to verify, or you auditor.
yes, yes,
But there is, all these will not satisfy you. There is a fluctuation in foreign exchange.
yes,
That's why I said the consignment basis.
yes,
If you are imported goods, then consignment, particular consignment, the rate is, let's say, 80 rupees per dollar.
yeah.
You take that one.
So that is what I'm trying to say. When you are going there for the stock audit, and when you see the stock lying there, you need to check three things basically: ownership, existence, and obsolescence. When you say ownership, what is the what is the whether that goods is owned by him or not, and then when you take existence, whether the goods are actually there or not, then comes the valuation part of it. How do you value it? And he would have given a stock statement. The borrower would have given a stock statement to the bank. In that stock statement, how did he value it?
So as I'm telling you, like take an example of the duty what they are imposed for
Yes.
gold now.
Yes, yes.
From 10% they will put 15%.
Yes.
If you are just using any of these methods, everything will be wrong.
So that's what I'm saying. There's no, how did he, see, basically you're going there as a stock auditor. You're seeing what is the value he has taken, and you're seeing how did he arrive at that value. You are the stock auditor. We are not discussing whether LIFO is better or FIFO is better. We are seeing what the borrower has adopted. You understand what I'm saying? No?
Borrower has got three options.
Yeah.
Employee is two.
We have to
Borrower has
satisfy
got
the
three
basis
options.
of valuation.
Yes, that's all. You should satisfy yourself about the basis of valuation. Now, one of the peculiarities of what you are mentioning is, if you take, there's something called a gold metal loan. A gold metal loan is something where metal is given to the jeweler. And, there's a valuation in terms of, he just signs for the gold. And he takes the gold and he keeps it in a stock. The gold is not valued, and the gold is not even shown as a liability. And it's an imported gold, so there's a way fluctuation not only in the market value of gold, there's also a fluctuation in the dollar rate. The day he tells the bank that okay, today is the day I'm going to confirm my this thing, the banker will raise an invoice on that date, and then the metal gold loan gets converted into his stock. He pays for that gold, and everything falls on date on that date. The rate, the exchange fluctuation rate, the gold rate, everything comes into that picture. So it's very, very interesting and very peculiar. So when you go in as a stock auditor, you should understand what is it that you're dealing with. Whether that material which is lying there in the godown belongs to this person or not. Then comes valuation, then comes verification. It's very interesting. Like if you, for example, if you go,
See, when you cross checking the profitability at the same time,
yeah,
the pricing stores method, PSL method,
yeah,
adjustment of consignment, assignment, receipt gets added and divided and arrive at the
yeah,
price at a particular time.
yes,
Even when an issue is going out of that,
yes,
so they at the same time the stores issue voucher also
yes.
gets valued the price which is taken
Yes.
into consideration.
So,
Sometimes it happens that stock is not added, but at the same time calculation is done, issued out.
yes,
But stock is added later.
Yeah.
So it gets distorted. I have noted in the BH
yeah.
pricing stores ledger separate
Yeah.
section
So,
running on this method.
yeah. So, if you take the automobile industry, for example, auto components which are being manufactured. So what happens is they will manufacture, they will get raw material, they will get steel, they will do some processing, etc. Then what happens is they send it to a third party to do some this thing or machining or job works, etc. And how do you confirm that this stock is actually theirs? How do you confirm that this stock which is lying outside with the vendors, how do you keep track of that? So this books of accounts and going through the books of accounts, understanding the entity, how the material goes out, how it is, etc. is very critical. Then as you said, the material has gone out.
Price is not added.
Yes.
And it gets distorted to the existing stock
Yeah.
plus current stock
Yeah.
or the existing price issued.
Yes.
At the same time, the action after receiving the consignment, price is added that will arrive at a different price.
Yeah.
So that distortion is always
There. And if for example in a manufacturing unit there are three processes. First process is done in-house, second process is done with third party, and then again it comes back and the third process is done inside the house. The valuation, how do you valuation? Where is the stock? If the stock is lying with the third party, has that particular whatever is being done, if they are drilling something or if they are machining something, has it been over? Has the value been added? So it's very interesting and very critical. And how do you depend upon what is the value that is given in that? It's quite this thing. Like say for example jewelry. Okay, you go there, you see something, and then you say, okay, fine, everything is right. Then the person says, my neck is longer, so I need a longer chain for that. So then what happens is they'll make a longer chain and give it back to you. In that case, at that point of time, how is that inventory tagged? Is it with that chain or without that chain? And what is the value? What is the stone? Then the the weight of the gold will increase, but not of the stones.
So stone they will not consider it.
No,
Valuing,
valuing, there will be,
bank will not consider stone.
no, when banker may not consider, but what I'm trying to say is, when inventory is taken, for example, when you're taking inventory in a jewelry, it will take everything into consideration. It will take the stone weight, it will take the gold weight, it will take everything into
The
consideration.
tagged information.
Sorry?
The tagged information will be entirely taken into account.
Yes.
No sir, but I've done stock audit for jewelry and all, where the banker lend money based on gold only, not
Yes.
based on stone. So they will not consider value of stone while calculating the value of the inventory.
Yeah, but how do you arrive at the value of the gold?
Weight.
It's a weight. So when you take the weight of that particular item, it includes the stone weight also.
So that they will have a different calculation.
No, like when you take a jewelry, for example, let's say it's a diamond necklace. The diamond necklace has got so many diamonds in it, it has got gold in it, etc. He will weigh only that. Yes, please.
So that net weight and gross weight, the jeweler puts, you have to ignore. Are you saying that we have to go into that stone weight?
No, I'm just trying, see, you're going there as a stock auditor.
Yeah.
You're going there as a stock auditor and you are given a certain value. Okay, it will have so much. It will have a stone weight and it will have a gold weight, and you will say this is the value of this thing. And then there is some making charges, and then there is some wastage charges. Every industry is very, very peculiar. So when you go there as a stock auditor, you need to evaluate what is being presented to you.
As a bank, what is the maximum?
Even ordinary bank, branch audit.
One second. Please go ahead.
See, as the bank, the main idea is that the bank is given loan against this.
Yeah.
So tomorrow the bad debt goes, what is the bank can get? Maximum the 22 carat gold value. Probably that is the most conservative value. If a 90 gram necklace,
Yeah.
jeweler says 20 grams stone value. Obviously I cannot verify that out of 90 grams, 20 grams is stone.
So let me pose another question to you. Okay, as I was saying, in any stock audit, three things that are very, very essential. One is ownership. How do you establish ownership in a jewelry shop?
We have to see the gold.
You can see the gold. How do you know it belongs to him? See, if I'm going to a Toyota showroom, and if I see that the Toyota showroom, it has got a chassis number, it's got an engine number, I can see whether that material has been purchased by, there's a purchase bill. That purchase bill will say this is the chassis number, this is the engine number, and it will show the invoice. And I know that this invoice has been purchased from Toyota Motors Limited, and this is this thing. But in a jewelry, how will you establish ownership? Sorry?
Local.
No, how do you establish ownership?
Direct the value of sundry creditors as per books of accounts.
Yeah.
Whatever sundry creditors are shown, that has to be deducted for the purpose of ascertaining the unpaid paid stock.
No.
With your experience, you
No,
can-
we have to see the bank statement, sir. We have to see the CC statement. In that we can find now the debits made,
No,
the payments made to
it's
the supplier.
very risky doing a jewelry stock audit. It's very, very
Yeah,
risky.
I also agree.
There is
Because out
no
of-
way you can, you can say that, yeah, the stock belongs to him or this thing. You need to be very careful when you take a jewelry stock audit.
No, sir, out of 10 kg they will say raw gold. When we ask them, no, 3 kg is with the goldsmith, sir, he is preparing.
Yeah, that is in a manufacturing, that's what I was saying. In a manufacturing industry, if it's a jewelry or it's automobile, stock lying with third party where it has gone for some workmanship or some this thing, you don't know. Absolutely, there is no way you can know.
No, they will not have any slip also at least.
No, they have, no.
3 kg and
We have done.
You can tell
What
the
consignment
business,
note?
that will be more valuable.
Proper documentation should be there.
Yeah, proper documentation, and that is what is audit evidence. Like we have done stock audit of some jewelers, So when they give that material outside for reworking or working, there is a sign off between that person who is taking it, karigar what we call, and then he will sign off that yes, I have received this material for this, etc. So we know that this much is there. But then if you are going to value each of those slips, how do you value that? You can only total it and then see, okay, this much is lying with third party. And how do you know whether that karigar has not run away?
No, you have to get the confirmation letter from the job workers. Job work stock, whatever is lying with job workers, we have to obtain confirmation letters from them holding the quantity of gold, etc. held by them.
So this third party validation or whatever what you are saying, no, it's very difficult. They might have 15 to 20 carigars they will have. How can you get, and that person doesn't even know what he's signing for. They are all
Exactly.
they are all goldsmiths. They may not even be educated to even sign. If he says okay, sign this, he'll say 10 kgs, he will sign it and give it.
The stock auditor, to safeguard himself, has to obtain this confirmation letters from these job workers.
Yeah, but there will be, let us say there are about 100 job workers. And which date are you asking for the stock confirmation?
We have to get a list of job workers with whom stocks are lying as on the date of valuation.
Yeah.
And in most of the cases, in majority of the cases, if they could provide us the confirmation letter, that will be the basis for us to submit our report to the bank.
No, it will be. You can do all that. You can do all that, or you can give a disclaimer also. You can always give a disclaimer because the karigar, you are asking him to sign a statement where on 31st March or something like that, I held so many kgs of gold or so many items I held. He would have already done his processing. He would have done that, installing, and he would have returned it back to the jeweler also. And you can't. He is not going to keep a stock. He is not going to keep a stock
There will
register.
be job work register will be there.
Yes, definitely.
And those quantities will be maintained. As
Yes.
of that particular day, we have to ascertain
Yeah.
and then get the confirmation from those job workers.
Yeah, but will he
Majority
give?
of the cases.
Yeah, will he give? You can do on a random basis. You can do. I mean, this is left to the stock auditor what he wants, how he wants to place. Reliability. How is he going to rely on that, and how much of stock is lying outside? What is the volume of stock? What is the value of stock? If let's say the
Like you said, there is a huge risk involved in stock audit of jewelry.
yeah.
We have to necessarily take these safeguarding issues where we could get the confirmation from job workers to ensure that at least the job workers confirm that those stocks are lying with them on the devaluation day, based on which we certify and give our report.
Yeah, that is one way of doing it. Yes, I'm not saying no, but you can also give a disclaimer, no?
Yeah.
Sir, that
Both are possible, sir.
There is a process for this verification for the job work.
Disclaimer is the value.
Whatever.
The bank will ask, what is the value of this disclaimer? Because
That will work definitely.
The bank is asking for our report only because they want to ascertain.
Yeah, they want to ascertain and they want to
And
assess
if you are
whether the
going to
stock
give
is
a report with a disclaimer, the very purpose is getting defeated.
So when you look at the stock, no?
This is the assurance audit, correct?
Yeah, this
You
is.
cannot give.
You cannot give the bank. What is the bank trying to do? Bank is trying to ascertain whether the value of material that is there covers the risk in terms of whatever money that has been lent to the borrower. And you are going there as a stock auditor and you are assessing that and you are giving. Let us say, for example, there's 100 rupees worth of stock, and out of which, let's say, 5 rupees or 10 rupees is outside. So that is the difference there. What I'm trying to say, like only 5% of the total stock value is outside with third parties.
Normal case, those we have to verify the documentation part and
The
confirmation.
main thing would be the documentation
And
part.
Issue out coming in.
Yeah.
Reconciliation.
Yes.
And also the confirmations. Is there any work in progress going on outside?
Yeah.
That also to be confirmed. Or we can go 1 or 2 cases, go physically and go and see inspection.
Yeah. You can do that also. Apart from getting confirmation, you can also go and see, okay, you take the biggest karigar, what is he doing there, is the stock lying with him, etc. But he also will be a small manufacturing unit. And he will be doing not only for this one jeweler, he will be doing for 10 jewelers. So even if you go there and do that stock of that person.
Tag.
No, the tag would have been removed, sir.
Tagging or.
No, let us say, for example, he is supposed to embed the stones in it. He has taken from this jeweler, he has taken from that jeweler, he has taken from 3 jewelers.
Got a tray number.
Nothing.
Ascertaining ownership again is a
So he will
Yes.
show everything for it.
No, he will be having, let's say, for example, this particular karigar has got some, let's say 5 kgs of gold from XYZ jeweler. But when you go there, he will not have 5 kgs, he will have 50 kgs.
And he will say entire 50 kg belongs to Stewart. This borrowed.
Evlo sir sonanga. How much did he say his stock with you?
That is why we say we try to get a confirmation letter from them.
Declaration.
Post audit, it will be, I mean, you're doing the audit, you're doing the stock audit after almost some 15 days, 20 days after this whole thing is over.
Did you find out any solution?
Solution is don't accept these audits. Jewelry audits is very, very difficult.
jewelry audit is
Very difficult, huge risk, huge risk. Because ownership can never be established. Even if the jewelry is lying inside the store, no? How do you know that it belongs to him?
Not only the ownership, even the valuation,
Yeah,
we will not be in a position to value the, we have to go by the purity of gold that is being offered to you and then mentioned to you in terms of
Yeah.
whether it is 22 carat or we cannot really ascertain.
Yeah.
It is only an assayer who can actually certify that.
Yeah.
We have to set a disclaimer there also.
I think you would have been aware of the recent circular which has been given by RBI, no? They wanted all the gold loans to be reappraised and
Yes.
not use the current appraiser, etc.
It is not it's a high risk area.
And rotation of assayer also to be taken into account.
Yeah. So gold and the audit of stock audit of a jewelry unit is very, very risky.
Sir, even
Absolutely
normal
risky.
branch audit.
Yeah.
We are depending only on the appraisers.
Yeah, you're depending only on the appraiser's this thing, no
Stores
doubt
and all
about
these are
it.
coming as you
Yeah, yeah. So purity of gold.
In the case of branch statute audit, you also wants to ensure that the appraiser is on a rotation basis at least
Yeah.
change every now and then at the branch. So
Yeah.
the same assayer doesn't give you the valuation.
Yeah.
even for trucks, sir. I've done for Kun Motors, 2 trucks.
Which
were
motors?
there- Kun Motors.
Kun
now.
Hyundai, okay.
The trucks,
Kun
now, 2
Motors.
trucks were there for more than 8 months.
Yeah.
But they were not, showing it as a current one. They are showing.
Okay.
Finally, when I happened to match the engine and chassis, I
Chassis,
could
no.
find that it was there for last 8 months.
Yes.
So then we have to remove that from the regular stock.
Yeah, regular stock. Yes, yes.
Like that.
But in case of, again in the case of jewelry, no, you may not, that's what I was saying, no? Yeah. Existence, ownership and obsolescence.
But
What you are talking about is obsolescence.
Yes, but jewelry no obsolescence. No?
Yes. So it again varies from industry to industry. One of the pharma companies we went and audited, the pharma companies, it was having so much of pharmacy stocks, everything, etc. So when you go there, you understand what this entity is all about and all. So then he was showing all the stocks, everything. Then here what happens is a lot of tablets are kept, manufacturing date, expiry, all that is there. How close it is, how are the, whether all the stocks which are there inside that pharmacy is the thing, etc. Then all this was going on, my team was auditing this, etc. And then this person was a C&F. C&F is basically the material in the warehouse does not belong to him, it belongs to the company. Then I asked him, okay sir, all this is fine. Just casually I asked him, sir, do you have a drug license? Then when he got that drug license, it was expired. So you have to be very careful. It depends upon which industry, what is it. Every industry has got its own risk and it's got its own, manner in which the stock audit is conducted. We'll come to that. That's also well come in the last session when I'm having this various industries. So this is what I think you were saying, sir. This is, confirmation of balances, from Sunny Das
Now
and
the
confirmation
appraiser
of.
should be certified appraiser. by the-
Yeah, typically it should be a certified appraiser.
Even somebody is coming and sitting there.
Yeah.
When we are exiting branch, we don't know exactly.
Yeah.
That is the same person.
And one of the jewelry audits which we had done, they were accepting the jewelry. Jewelry was being inverted. And you won't believe he had a small machine, this much size. So all the jewelry was placed in that thing. Just like how when you go to an airport, you check in your baggage, no? The jewelry was going inside that and it's coming out at the other end. Just to see whether there's any metal objects or any iron objects in that. And if it is there, it will be. Because he is not able to see, he cannot even, he cannot do it, check once the, jewelry or once in pieces come in, he cannot see whether there's inside there is something, iron or anything like that. So this is the thing, so this is all, when you go there, when you observe the audit process, when you observe how the material is accepted, not only jewelry, anything else, this is very critical. What is, this all will form part of your audit evidence. So that's what I was saying, what are the assessment of the internal controls and accounting for sales, receipts, all this happens when you go there and try to understand the environment in which you are auditing.
It is a large warehouse.
Yeah.
Some drones are used for verification.
When you go to large warehouses, it is very interesting to know what is the material that you are actually counting. When you're doing inventory, if you take for example paints, okay, the paints are stored in stacks. It is called, in Tamil they call it atti. So they will have, the boxes will be lined left to right, and then it will go up, then there will be a height also. So this will be, let's say, each box will contain a 4-liter tin, and each carton will contain 4-liter tins. And then it will be, each 4-liter tin will contain of so much of weight, so much of liters in volume. So 4 into 4, that is 1 carton. Then you will have 6 cartons like this, and there's a depth of 3 cartons, and then there's a depth of another, and a height of another 5 cartons. So you multiply length into breadth into height, and then you multiply what is the stock keeping unit that is there, and it will vary. So it's very, very critical when you go there and understand. They could absolutely, there is no way you can easily get lost, or you can easily get convinced, but that okay, this is what is happening over here.
Material inside is.
That is apart. What is the material is inside? That is a secondary thing, right? You know, when the box is there, when it comes from the factory, let us say there are 4 cartons inside this, and he will put what is called a BOPP tape. So that BOPP tape will have, okay, so and so pharma company will be there. But you know, they will remove the sticker from the bottom, remove all the material and put some dummy closet, and so you won't even know what is the stock that is lying there. So when you go for stock audit, you have to be very careful. You have to be bold enough and tell him, okay, show me what is inside this carton, show me what is there. Is it what is actually supposed to be there? No? If he says, okay, again in paints, when you come to paints, you know, the oil-bound distempers or the plastic emulsions or the auto refinish. Auto refinish is most expensive. Plastic emulsion slightly less. And OPD or oil-bound distemper is the least. That is what you do for your houses and all that. Again, there also when you take, okay, for example, this particular blue, what you're seeing here, you know, he will have a base paint and then he will tint it to get that shade. So there again the value will get changed. Base material will be the same, but once it is tinted, the value will change. So how much of the tinted stock is kept? And somebody will place the order, like for example, I am painting my house. I will place an order and I want this much of brown, this much of black, this much of enamel paints, all that I will say. But then when I actually place the order and take it, I will not take the entire 50 liters or something. My painter will say, sir, 40 liter podu sir. He will take 40 liters. And he has got left another 10 liters of this blue, which he cannot sell. Whom will he sell that blue, which is actually going into my house, and somebody else will not have the same blue? So again, every industry, you know, it will vary, like what is the stock, what is this thing. Obsolescence is the key thing, like whether that material is obsolescence or not.
Oil gas, that is a huge impact. Even oil gas pipeline goes.
Yeah.
And on 31st March, what should be the value?
Yeah.
So it's a Herculean task to
understand, yes.
Control room.
Yeah.
It will give all the data. From there, you have to catch up what is inside the gas out and valuations.
Oh, even when you take the pharma industry, if you go, let's say vitamin E. Vitamin E powder is very, very expensive. It is white in color. It will look exactly like Maida. And if you put Maida in the bag and say it is vitamin E, you will not even know what is the value of Maida and what is the value of vitamin E. Like vitamin E will be so costly. So being a stock audit firm, you have to be really careful. Like they will make so risky it is now. So once you arrive at the value of the inventory, and then the drawing power is calculated, and then the margin which is set by the bank, okay, if the stock is valued at 100, I will have a 25% margin, and only 75% will be the drawing power. So here the margin which is decided by the bank will vary depending upon the industry, depending on the type of listing it is there. If it is, for example, in automobile, there won't be any listing. You know what is the rate at which it has come, they'll have a standard listing and then come. But if jewelry, then the margin could likely go up. And then this drawing power is periodically reviewed, then you will have a stock statement, the stock statement will say that this is the value, and then you will have that drawing power, and then the drawing power limit will be fixed, and then the borrower will operate the cash credit account based on the drawing power which has been fixed.
No, but the banker is supposed to enter the value of each statement. Every month
Yeah,
statement they have to
yeah.
enter into the CBS.
Yes.
But most of them they are not doing
So
it.
that is again when you are doing this branch statutory audit,
No,
it's
statutory
excellent
audit is
like
stock audit.
stock audit.
We need to ensure that they feed the value of every month the stock statement. Accordingly, the system itself will calculate the drawing
Correct.
power, but they are not doing it.
No, if they are not doing that, then the borrower will be at a loss. See, if for example, if I have 100 lakhs as my drawing power, and if I have submitted the stock statement, and I will ensure that the banker has entered that 100 lakhs as my drawing power. No, otherwise, how will I avail that facility?
So you have to give at least 125 lakhs worth of stock statement.
Yeah, that is what I'm trying to say is, how did this, what you were saying was, that the drawing power has to be entered, the value of the stock has to be entered. When the borrower is submitting, it will be entered, all that will be done. But when you go as a branch statutory auditor, that is when you check, okay, what was the stock audit, what is the value of the drawing power and when was the stock statement submitted. So it varies depending upon your this thing. Are you going there as a branch statutory auditor or are you going there as a stock auditor?
Can we look for the current stock statement? From there we can do the...
Yeah, you have to call, that's what I said, when you go to the borrower and you take the information, you have to take all that. How did he arrive at that value which was given to the bank?
The margin normally industry to industry.
Yeah, industry to industry it varies, yes.
Regarding steel sheets,
Yeah,
very process of going in.
yeah.
So in that case, who can be steel sheets there, purchasing?
So there will be rolls, huge coils that will be there. So are they purchasing it or how are they? Yeah, so it is very, as I was saying, industry to industry it will vary a lot. You can get him to weigh it actually. They will have huge things and you can get him to weigh it. Once we were given stock audit for thermal power plant. And we were given the stock audit for assessing what is the extent of coal that was lying there in the thermal power plant. So we took all the internal controls, everything and arrived at the estimate of what was the coal that was lying there. And in our discussion with the banker, we told him this is how we are arriving at it. Are you okay with it? He said, no, I'm not okay with it. I want you to take the stock of the coal. But he said, no, Mari, how do you weigh that? In case of coil, you can actually get it weighed. You can count the number of coils, you can see what it is, and then you can get it weighed at that thing. But in this case, what happens is, when you weigh the coil, you will know what is the weight. In some cases, for example, in the manufacturing industry, which is manufacturing jute bags, they are having bales, That bale, even if you go by weight, it's not sufficient. You should know what is the width and what is the length and number of meters in that particular bale. So it's very critical in what you're doing.
The sheets also different sizes.
Yeah, sheet different sizes, different thickness, different whether it is EN8, whether it is what is the material or that you're dealing with, what material it is, how do you test it? Let us say he is talking about EN18 and it is not EN18, it is something else. How do you test it like? So we went for this coal industry and they asked us to establish what is the coal that is available there, It was very difficult. The banker did not approve. He did not say, no, I don't accept what you are giving. You please tell me exactly how much coal is lying there. Then we went, I spoke to a couple of my engineering friends and I asked them, okay, how is it that we can establish what is the value of stocks or how do you assess how much coal is lying there? And he said you could use trigonometry and get it done. So then I went back to the plant head and I told him this is what I wanted and how can you do it. But then this coal is lying in huge mounds like this. It is not lying in a particular manner. If you have gone in the train, you will find all these granite stones which is lying over there, and there will be a white paint on all this thing. So that's a quadrangle. So they use that for measurement of the stock of stones that is lying there. So when we came for the stock, this is what the plant head said. Okay, sir, I will cut down all the incoming. So he stopped all the incoming of coal, entire coal which was coming in, he stopped. And whatever was there to consume, he could consume. he asked me, okay, how long will you take for the stock audit of this coal? I said, it depends, if you can give me just half a day or 1 day, I'll be happy. So he brought down the stock value, the quantity of stock in that manufacturing process to feed 1 day of his consumption. And then he brought all his JCBs, leveled up that whole thing, then we measured the whole stock and then we arrived at the stock value. It's not only the bank, it's also what you...
For construction of house,
Yes.
they are supplying the science and all this.
Yeah.
Only the method which you do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cementing in the particular shape
Yeah.
and the voluminous. Then
Yes.
calculating.
Then you calculate everything. So sometimes that's why I find chartered accountants' jobs are very, very tough. Like if you go to a dentist, you know exactly what the dentist has to do. But you're a chartered accountant means, and if you go to a dentist for a stock audit, you should know what this stock is having to audit that. So your knowledge should be like 360 degrees. It should be like. It's a very interesting and very tough job that we have. Like, and the moment you say you're a chartered accountant, people say, yeah, okay, he knows everything.
What percentage the drawing power is calculated on that stock?
So normally they will take about 75% will be given, 25% will be the margin. Because if anything goes wrong and if they repossess the stock, what would be the realizable value?
And 40% margin for?
Sometimes 40%.
25 for stock, 45, 40 for receivables.
Yeah.
They will get
Margin will vary. Depends upon the comfort of the bank. And they
Is
will,
it not fixed for a particular year? Say today's stock is valued about, let's say, 5 million rupees. And then you give a drawing power, let's say 3 million. But is it for a particular period or is it for the whole?
It's for a particular period, sir. According to the sanction, according to
For
the
the
sanction, it
sanction
is normally
period.
for 1 year.
The drawing power is fixed month on month.
yeah, no, he's talking about the margins, right?
When you calculate the margin, you get a figure.
Yeah.
That figure is given for a particular borrower.
Yeah.
Is it for a particular period or is it for the whole year?
So that depends upon your sanction letter. If the sanction letter says that the
What is
stock,
our role?
that's what.
What is the auditor's role?
Auditor's role is like you have to go through the stock statement, you have to go through the sanction letter. If the sanction letter says that the periodicity of the submission of stock statement is monthly, then every month the stock statement has to be submitted on the basis of which the drawing power is calculated. And that is what will reflect in his cash credit account. If he has not submitted that stock statement, then what do? That is the question, all branch statutory auditors will face. How old was the stock statement that was submitted?
Go to Sivagasi. I was a banker.
Okay.
Go to Sivagasi, if you go now,
Yeah.
the stock will be very minimum.
Yes.
You go in October, November,
It will be very
stock
high.
will go to 25 crores, 30
Crores.
crores
Yes.
in each
Yes.
of them.
Yes.
So in that case, this is why I'm asking you,
Yeah.
how a banker
Yeah.
will determine what percentage of margin and what period you have to give that kind of
See, what you are saying, no, it is a,
in my bank,
yeah.
for everybody from November to December, the facility will go up to 25 crores,
Huge.
30 crores, 50 crores.
Huge, yes.
And it will just come down
Come
in
down.
February.
Yeah.
By February, you see there will be no overdraft at all.
Yeah.
Corresponding
So
drawing
it
power
is,
also will be
see,
lower.
so one of the points what you mentioned was, this is a very seasonal industry. The Shivakasi and the crackers is very, very seasonal. When Diwali comes, before Diwali the stocks will be very, very high. The moment Diwali takes place and then stocks are dispatched, the entire stock level will come down. But you have to understand one thing, the stock is being converted into sale. And the moment that sale is there, the entire money should come into this thing. And being a seasonal industry, it is quite possible that the banker will have limits only for that particular season, and but it's very, very limited. Like it will say, okay, his limits will go up for this particular time, and then after which it will come down. So he will be in a rush to maintain his drawing power at all times. So because the drawing power is going to drop. Immediately after Diwali is going to over, but then there's a transition of stock to debtors and debtors to cash. That is the typical working capital cycle.
My point is, whatever I said is determined by the banker. the bank manager. He determines the value of the stocks, what he need, 25 crores during November, December. But what about the auditor's role? When you go to do a stock audit on that particular industry, what you will decide? Will you accept the bank manager's decision or not?
See, it is the banker who is lending his money. So as a stock auditor, when you go there, you are going to study his sanctioning note, sanction letter, and you have to go according to that. Whether the compliance is there on the basis of the sanction letter. You don't question his wisdom and saying, no, how did you sanction like this or we are not looking into that. We are only looking, okay, this is my sanction terms and conditions, whether the borrower has complied with those sanction terms and conditions or not. That's it, period.
Moreover, sir, what we see as a stock, we take as a value. See, you might have shown 9 crores, but when on the day of the stock audit, if we can find only 6 crores, we take 6 crores as a stock and arrive at the drawing power. Arrive at the drawing power and tell them that whether it is excess or not.
Yeah.
Correct now.
And what is the margin that is there? The margin is also very critical as to how we are going to arrive at that. And as a branch statutory auditor, this non-compliance which is there, if he is not complying with that, then penalty will be there. Then that is where your, you can levy a penalty that okay, the stock statement is not valid, it is more than 90 days old, etc. This is what you look at when you go there as a branch statutory auditor.
Even revenue audit, they are asking us to verify this.
Yeah.
We go for revenue audit.
Yes.
2 days working days. They want us to verify this and all. Leakage of income.
Yeah, leakage of income, that is what I was saying. The leakage of income is that's critical when the penalty is being levied, etc. So this is what I was saying, the various industries which are there. You have automobile, you have aquaculture, you have paints, you have a jute bag manufacturing industry, thermal power plants, I already mentioned, jewelry, we have discussed so much, and pharma, and the granite industry. Granite industry is so difficult. He will have rocks over there, and how do you know? I mean, I can in gold at least I can say okay, this is 24 carat, this is 22 carat, this is 20 carat or whatever. In granite, it is only the perception, So whether that granite has been cut, whether it is polished, is unpolished, what is the slab size, what is the weight of that? Not weight, but the area that is covered. So in granite industry, what happens is it is the area and not the weight. How much of this particular stone is there, and what is the value of that?
Sir,
and then steel industry, what you had mentioned, steel industry.
Rice mills.
Rice mills, I don't have experience in that, but I put whatever experience I have, I put it over there.
Most of the South Indian bankers, rice mill will be there.
Yeah.
I have seen many things. They are also the same problem.
Okay.
They will be, showing huge stock, but when we go there, only 50% will be available.
And then the stacking of the rice bags and how it will be this thing, etc.
Difficult.
Yeah. So here, as I was saying, in the automobile industry, you can recognize the stock in terms of engine number, chassis number, etc. And whether if he's an OEM vendor, then what is the line, whether it has gone out for processing, etc. And how much has been supplied to the OEM, etc. In aquaculture, there are huge ponds in which the prawns are cultivated. There is no way you can estimate how many prawns are there. But when the prawns are coming to the harvesting time, that is when the size of the prawns is the biggest, and that is when the value goes up. In other terms, it is very, very small. Infant, it is maybe 3 days old or 4 days old, then it's 1 week old, then harvesting comes at a particular time. So knowing the industry is very critical. What is it that you are giving, fisheries, etc., and especially aquaculture, is very, you will have stock. Here the raw material which is being, or the raw material which is being processed is basically small larvae. They'll become what you call these prawns, and then it's harvested. And once it is harvested, it is frozen, put it into an ice pack, and it is stored in boxes. So there they will be full size, those are all finished goods ready for exports. Till then it's like work in process. And then they will also have a lot of feedstock, they will have a lot of this thing where they give medicines and feeds, which is that is again also raw material. So it's very, very, very interesting. And in paints, as I was saying, how they will store the stock of paints, etc. In terms of liters. You could have 100 ml paint, you could have 50 ml paint. In each box will contain some 20 boxes of this, etc. Some of them will be the sizes will vary. You will get in 50 ml, 100 ml, 200 ml, 250 ml, 1 liter. And each carton will have so many, so many units, etc. So it's, when you take the value, how do you calculate and what is the verification that you are doing? All that will be. So understanding the entity is very, very critical. What is it? What is the entity which you are going to do a stock audit for is very critical. Yeah, please.
Aquaculture, how do the bankers lend money?
Yeah.
On what basis they give money for loans?
So it is typical, sir. If you go through the sanction letter, your guide and the most important thing is the sanction letter. So the sanction letter will tell what is the kind of facility that is being given. As I said in the beginning, you have fund-based, you have non-fund based. And as aquaculture, etc., they will have ready orders which is coming from abroad, and based on the orders they will be there. So it could be in LC based, it could be anything else. So they will be disposing, they will be discounting those, etc., and then they will be giving. Apart from that, the primary stock or the primary security is the aquaculture, which is stock which is lying there. But apart from that, they would have also taken some collateral from the borrower. So that collateral is also there.
So that is the primary.
That is primary. So one of the things which I think I have not mentioned in this slide is what the valuation of the property, when was it done? So this is one thing. RBI now say that okay, if the property or the value is more than 50 lakhs, then there should be minimum 2 valuers who have evaluated that. And then the valuation of the property should not be more than so many years old. So when you go for a branch stock audit, and then when you see, you can always check, okay, when was this property valued, how old was it, and if it is more than 50 lakhs, was it valued by 2 valuers.
In case of aquaculture, virus problem will be there, I think.
Yes.
Prawns and the fishes.
Yes.
Then how the banker ensure themselves against the loan?
That is, the banker will, that's why I said, the banker when he is lending, he will take whatever collateral he can take. So you have the bank guarantees, then you have the personal guarantees of the directors, then you will also have the property which is mortgaged to the bank.
Not mainly upon orders, outside orders.
Outside, you will have export orders also, which they will be discounting and which they will be exporting. All that is there. But how is the bank, why does the bank appoint a stock auditor? Bank appoints a stock auditor to go and see whether that stock is there or not there, how it is valued, and especially for prawns, etc. It will be frozen and kept in that. You can't even go inside. The stock will be maintained at something like 4 degrees centigrade inside that warehouse. Cold storage. He will give you a quote, you go there and wait. After some time, you can't even feel your fingers. You have to take turns, go inside, come out, etc. Very difficult. Sorry?
I have done in Saudi.
Okay.
Not the cold storage.
Yeah.
So that is full of
Yeah, prawns.
prawns and
Yeah, fishes,
non-vegetarian item.
salmon. It's very interesting. Yeah.
Whether it's an old stock, new stock, which date it was.
Yeah, so again there when you come, first of all, how it is stocked, how is this thing stocked, and what is the date? When you talk about this, you will see the date of packing. It's not the date of manufacturing, it is the date of packing which has been very valid for what industry.
By the time we could not survive inside, we came out. Only maximum 15 minutes.
Yeah, very difficult. Whatever gloves he gives you, whatever it is there, it's very difficult, especially in the sericulture industry, it's very, very difficult to understand the stock. So, whenever a stock audit assignment is given, please be careful. What is it that you are going audit? Is it the jewelry industry? Is it aquaculture? Is it this thing? So, it's all. Sorry?
Very difficult.
Yeah, cold storage, yeah.
Now, poultry farming is also sales.
Yeah, poultry farming is also same. The number of this thing, you can't be running behind the chickens to count how many chickens are there. Just imagine. You cannot even this thing about the smell. So it's quite interesting and quite difficult job for a chartered accountant.
Only sample.
Yeah. So this is what when you are looking at jewelry industry again coming back. Let's say you take any of the jewelry shops which are there. They are not going to have one branch. They will have, you take any of these famous jewelry shops, they will have something like 40 locations across India, 50 locations across India, 54 locations. How are you going to conduct the stock audit across all these things and all these locations? And when you get into that, this thing, how do you count that gold? How do you, this thing, it's all very interesting. How are you, that's what the audit planning is, what was all about, what I was mentioning. Then you should know the entity, understand the entity, what the entity deals with, and how are you going to conduct the stock audit. And all, whatever you understand about the entity and about how to conduct the stock audit has to be communicated to your team. So they also are on the same page, they also have the same level of this thing with them when they start the stock audit. Right? And valuation of WIP, I already mentioned, suppose the jewelry is going outside to this thing, how do you take that valuation?
No, I did audit for Dinatati, stock audit.
Okay.
The audit fees is 10,000.
Yeah.
But the travelling charges, I charge 40,000.
Yeah.
In Tamil Nadu, you have to do.
Yes.
Railways are paid stock audit.
I have no idea.
Railways.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have not done that. Got good experience, but certain areas are still for me blind spots.
Railway industry.
Yeah. So then once your stock audit is completed, etc., then you have what we come to the post audit discussion. Here you will discuss with the banker that this is what you have done, this is what you have covered, and this is how it has been done. And here again, once again, you take a sign off. You need to have a post audit sign off with this, and then that is when, after the post audit sign off is there, that is when you start preparing the stock audit report. And stock audit report, most of the banks, they may not have a format. Some banks will have a format. Preamble is there, then you'll have drawing power, assessment of drawing power, how drawing power is calculated, etc., etc. All that is there. But quite a few banks, they don't have any stock audit format. So stock audit report is basically your format, how you present the data, etc. If you take, for example, textile industry, you will have raw material in terms of tarn, that is the raw material which is there in fabric. Then you will have cut fabric. Then you will have shirts, you will have pants, you will have sizes, small, large, extra large. All that will be there in that, and it will be a work in progress, etc. You will find shirts for which the sleeves have not been stitched or collars have not been placed, etc.
Like paper industry, I've seen.
Yeah.
2,000 items are there.
Yeah. Again, the paper industry also, as sir was saying.
Tons of paper, 80
Yeah.
grams,
Yes.
40 grams,
Yes.
50 grams,
Yes.
40 grams.
Yes.
2,000 varieties.
Yes. So that is what we call stock
How do
keeping
you
unit.
put in a report like this?
Different SKU.
Yeah, SKUs, different SKUs. In the paint industry has a different SKU. The pharmaceutical industry has a different SKU. And your paper industry, your steel industry, they all have different stock keeping units. Very, very different. If you go to a steel industry and how do you assess what is the quantity of stock which is lying in the smelter? Right, sir?
Another thing is that beverages, they have water and sugar.
Yeah. Distilleries is one very, very interesting. So you will have different vats over there, and he will say this is what is inside that. Now, how do you know what is inside that? He will say, for that we have to have separate workshops. So, at least if it is a car, if you know it's a sedan, I know it's a sedan or it's a, this thing, but in a distillery, it's very, very difficult. We have done distilleries also, we have done. And how much of that stock is there, what stock is lying there? There are huge vats. In that vat, that liquor is poured, it is waiting for fermentation before it is bottled. And in the distillery industry also, they will be buying back all the bottles. So you will have bottles which are bought back, you will have bottles which are newly obtained from the manufacturer, and there's a value. So that in that case, actually it becomes a raw material. And they'll have corrugated cartons which are there on which all these things will be packed, and then it will be this thing. So each industry, as I was saying, it's very, very critical what industry that you are doing and what is the thing. If you take, for example, plywood. Plywood comes in different sizes, that plywood comes in different shapes, plywood comes with different, whether it is, boiling water proof or whether it is hot water proof or what it is, and what is the thickness, what is the ply, all that. So every industry has got its own peculiarities and own challenges.
Mango pulp, again cold storage.
Yeah, mango pulp again cold storage, and also what is the extent of processing that is there, like.
Yes.
Yeah.
different variety.
Yeah. We have done an audit for a company which had, it was doing mango pulp, it was doing pickles, and it was doing, it was selling the mango pulp in raw and after processing and after pickling. I'll tell you one thing, if you go to that industry, you'll never eat pickles again. That is how it is manufactured over there. So then coming back to this audit evidence, audit evidence will start right from your appointment. When were you appointed, what was the appointment date, when is this thing, you will interact with the borrower and tell him, okay, I'm going to come for a stock audit. Then he will say, no, don't come now, this is my year end, Diwali is happening, after Diwali you come, the stocks will be less, you can calculate then, etc. So collection of data, both from the borrower and from the banker. Then how do you conduct the stock audit? And all the related papers. If your team is going there, if there are 10 teams, and each team will have to say what is the area which they are auditing, which is the location, which is the date, and all what they have verified. It could be on random basis, it could be on this. And the bottom you will sign off, and there will be somebody from the manufacturer side who would have been part of that audit. You have to take his signature also. Only then that stock audit working papers will become completely this thing. And then once all this is done, that is when you collate the data, and that is when you create your valuation. That is when you create the audit report. And once you submit the audit report, there is also your acknowledgement which you take from the banker. And sometimes the end-to-end process, he might have appointed you sometime in the first week of April, and for large audits, etc., it may take even 2 months or even 1 by the time you actually go for the stock audit and this thing. But whatever it is, when you submit the stock statement and when you submit the stock audit report, you take a sign off and take a signature from the banker that yes, we have submitted the stock audit report. So this, what I would like to say is, whatever I've shared with you, these are all experiences, these are all my own personal experiences. So the institute has got its own guidelines about stock audit and got its own bank audit, etc. So you need to be guided by that. So this is what I've just shared my experience with you in all these, almost about 30 years and of this thing. We do almost about automobile audits. We do quite large. Every month we do about 10 to 15 audits. We do.
I understand, but different type of audits. Technically, how will you verify? Is there any procedural guidance is there? As we discussed verbally, different industries. Is there written guidance?
Internal guidance, you can be guided by the bank audit, whatever guidelines have been issued by institute, you can be guided by that. They have a separate bank audit this thing.
They will say what to do. I am asking how to do.
How to do is, you need to understand the entity.
Industries.
Yes, every industry you need to understand what it is and then only you have to do. It's all your experience which counts.
You have written any book?
No, I have not written any book. Thank you. Any other questions or?
Any fraudulent practices you have come across?
Fraudulent practices we have not exactly come across, but but definitely there are a couple of instances where when we have done the stock audit and after that he has been declared as an NPA.
The box was huge.
Yeah.
And inside there were empty boxes.
Yeah. So audit evidence is very critical, sir.
One of the branches.
That is, the audit evidence is absolutely critical for you to understand and then keep your this thing that okay. At any time, if you are called for anywhere else, nowadays all these enforcement agencies are very, very proactive. Yes, sir.
The way you have explained about the stock audit, I feel instead of a chartered accountant, a cost accountant is the right person to do this work.
They are also allowed now. They can also.
So what happens is
Because I have not done it before, but I don't know. But from the explanation what you have given, only a cost accountant can do this much better than a chartered accountant.
I won't be able to comment on that, but I'm not a cost accountant, so
why I'm saying that because the complexity of a particular industry, whatever you have just said, a chartered accountant cannot just go and have access like that. I worked in a printing industry for 25 years. That's why I told you 2,000 items I have.
Yeah.
45 gram,
Yeah.
60 gram, 80 gram,
Yeah.
90 gram, 100
Yeah.
gram, colored paper,
Yeah.
glossy paper,
Yeah.
glossy art, glossy
Yeah.
matte art.
Yes.
So many. So
Every industry has its own
Master
peculiarities.
accountant is supposed to study this kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
products.
No, every industry has. You were talking of 2000, there are industries. If you take a pharmaceutical grading industry, it is having like lakhs and lakhs. And when you're talking about in a manufacturing unit, you're talking about only one manufacturing unit. You just imagine any jewelry shop, how many outlets they have. In Chennai alone, they will be having six to seven outlets they will have. And like that, they will be having across. My daughter works for PMJ Jewelers. She's a designer. PMJ Jewelers is based out of Hyderabad. The corporate office is Hyderabad. They have 54 outlets across India.
Sir, moreover, casting paper of CA will be tougher than CWA.
Subjects are same both.
Yeah, please.
Paper will be tough.
The method of doing this only by experience will get this
Practically, we will not be
knowledge.
able to physically verify the stock.
Yeah.
So in that case, as a stock auditor, are we required to do 100% or based on some judgmental we consider, considering so and so parameter, we are of the opinion that the stock is matching with the book, something we can do it, or 100% you have to verify.
Yeah, so okay, if you see the peculiarity of this industry, of any industry, that's what I said, that you need to understand what this industry is all about. So when we went for one of the manufacturing industries, he's got material, okay, he's doing some manufacturing process, and at the bottom he's got a bag which is collecting the waste that is coming out of the processing. So let us say this thickness is being shaved off and being brought to a certain thing. So whatever waste is getting cut off, that waste is being collected in a bag, and every unit has got some bag. And then he says that this much of wastage is lying in that bag, sir, and if I sell that amount, I will get this much of this thing. So you have to value that whatever wastage is lying inside that bag.
Separate SKU for that.
No, he's valuing like that. How do you assess that? How do you assess that, okay, this much of this thing? I cannot even open that bag because I have to stop that factory there. I have to tell him, okay, let me see what it is. And then even if I see what it is, he is not recording that stock which is lying in that bag at that point of time. He is recorded that sometime on 31st March. You are going there on first week of April, by which time that whatever wastage was there in the bag is not at all there. Right?
And most of the challenge is on work in progress.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking about work in progress only. So that's what I said, that you have a pre-inspection audit memo which you sign off with the banker, and after the entire audit is over, you have a post-discussion note, and there also you sign off. Everywhere you will have to know what is the constraints that the industry is facing in that particular thing, and then you will have to make sure that this is what is agreed upon and this is what you are signing off.
And most of the banks doesn't allow us to qualify the report. They will not
Sir, if you qualify the report, then DP is affected. No, if DP is affected, then it becomes.
Whatever DP is affecting is on the numbers.
Yeah.
For any other matter, books of accounts also, they are not allowing us to qualify. They are telling that it should be a clean book.
So, what is the context you are talking about? I mean, are you the stock auditor? Are you the statutory?
As a stock auditor, for example, some banks, the stock audit is very elaborate.
Yeah.
They supposed to even comment about the internal control system.
Yes.
They have to comment about their compliances.
Yes. So, in most of the stock audits, if you see, which have been allocated to you, they may not even be having a reporting format. If that reporting format is there, yes, you can go by that, and you can tell, okay, this is the areas which were covered, not covered, random sampling was done, how the stock was taken, what is the extent of size of my team, and what is the random sampling value that you have taken for the entire. If the total value is 100 crores, and you have done random sampling, and then this is it, and you have covered, let's say, 25 crores. Well, that is the assurance you can give based on the assurance of that 25% of the stock that you have verified. Can you verify 100%? It's impossible to verify 100%.
So they mentioned the top 10 high value items and
Yeah.
top 10 receivables.
Yeah.
We have to verify 100%.
So that's what I said. Your pre-inspection.
But it should cover 75%. For your banks like SBA, they put both the conditions, top 10 or 75% of your total receivables.
Yeah, but you know, when even in SBI also, how many times have we done a stock audit where you go and sign off a pre-inspection memo, post-inspection memo, sign off by the banker and by yourself? Very rare. People, when we did the audit for SBI, they did not even know that this was part of the rules. Then from that time onwards, we started doing a pre-inspection discussion and post-inspection discussion sign off. So all the constraints which you are facing in terms of that will be there in that, involved in that. You can say, okay, this is what we are going to do, this is what is agreed upon. So,
Specific specimen.
no, it will vary from, what to say, industry to industry.
Let it be varied.
Yeah.
Any format is there, you are having in sample.
You share me your mail ID, let me see what I can do. I'll pull out some whatever pre-inspection memos that we had, and we have done audits for this thing. Yeah.
Of the names and other things, just sample
Yeah.
specimen. That's it.
Even for the stressed asset management branch for which you were there, it's also very, very difficult. How do you ascertain what is the status of this, etc.? Of course, that is not stock, but then it is still, this much of, this is the accounts which are there in this branch. And as a concurrent auditor also is very, you're going to depend upon the audit reports that have been given by other chartered accountants or other cost accountants, as you say. So you have to rely upon that, and then only you arrive at, okay, whether, this is valid, not valid, frequency, all this is there. Like.
No, but concurrent audit we do the unit visit.
Yeah.
At least 5 units. On seeing the unit, we may not count the stocks.
Yeah.
But on seeing the unit, we can confirm that the
See,
unit is running.
in that, when you, as a concurrent auditor, what happens is, again, you rely upon the sanction letter. The sanction letter will have some financial covenants, it will have other covenants, both of which you'll have to read. It's very, very extensive, very, very extensive, the financial covenants of this. You have to see that, everything, each and everything, you'll have to see in a minute detail, and only then you can, do the stock audit. Okay, thank you so much for giving me a patient hearing. If there's anything else, please let me know. I think we have covered as much as possible.
Email address, sir.
Thank you.
Email address.
1 second. Let me see. Yeah, that's my email address, sir.